All right, let's look at so the Durham report, this much anticipated Durham report, which was going to blow the roof off of all of the wrongdoing that was committed against Donald Trump when he was being investigated. Total nothing burger. And we're going to look at this through an interview. This is actually really interesting. Donald Trump was interviewed by fired Fox News host Dan Bongino yesterday, and Trump told 20, 30 lies about the content of the Durham report. This goes bad quick. Let's take a listen.
I'm always excited to welcome back to the show a man who hopefully will be the next president of the United States, a good friend to the show, a good friend to me personally, President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
Right.
Hello, Dan.
Okay, so it's off to hello, Dan. Trump in a bad mood. Bad mood Trump is never good during interviews. This has been written about extensively. When Trump has that bad mood, he is a difficult guy. So it gets off to a notably bad start. They go right into the Durham report and the lies pouring out of Trump's mouth.
Mr. President, we got the report yesterday. Everything you said was correct. This is one of those hashtag Donald Trump was right again moments.
Is it?
Sir, you were framed. You were framed. They had no evidence of any of this from
There is no reason to believe Trump was framed.
start. Your thoughts on that?
They thought they were going to lose, and we were indeed framed, and it really pertained more because they missed the dates, and amazingly, the report wasn't picked up until just after the election. If you remember, I think it was BuzzFeed, which is now essentially out of business, I understand, which is a very good thing for the country. They were bad news, but
it's great when media outlets go out of business, per Trump.
this was done sometime after the campaign. It actually affected, if you look at it and really study it, it really affected 2020 much more because we went through years of nonsense with Russia. I didn't even know what they were talking about. People would come up to me, sir, do you know anything about Russia?
If you are not understanding this word salad, do not adjust your television or mobile phone or computer screen. Nobody can understand what he's talking about here.
And after a while, I'd say, what's going on with Russia? It was a frame-up. And these are bad people. This is Schiff and Clinton and all. These are bad people, but it was much more than them. Mark Elias. You take a look at what they did. And this really affected 2020 more than it affected 2016.
That's right.
It was meant for 2016, but they couldn't get it off. You know, they had this fake dossier written by Steele and who was offered millions in order to try and get it confirmed. And he
Stick with it. I'm going to go through all of this with you in a moment.
couldn't get it confirmed. He couldn't get anybody to confirm it because it was all fake. It was like you write a fiction book. And but this really affected the 2020. Another thing in the 2020 election, which was totally rigged, by the way, incredibly how they didn't want to talk about that, Dan. They didn't want to talk or rigged. But all you have to do is take a look at the 51 intelligence agency. That's rigging it. Take a look at Truth to Vote. These are great patriots, Catherine Engelbrecht, and these are great patriots, went around for a year, took all of the tapes out. She sold all of the stuffing the ballot boxes that took hundreds of thousands of votes, stuffing the ballot boxes that took place. And just you take a look at just Twitter and the FBI.
Okay. So it goes on and on and on, but let's add a little bit of reality to this. Donald Trump and Dan Bongino and others would have you believe that the Durham report exposed, quite frankly, that the real crime was even investigating Donald Trump and that Trump is vindicated and all these different things. I don't know how many of you have actually looked at the Durham report. The Durham report, in which they put all of their eggs in that basket for years, the Durham report found no evidence of any deep state plot against Donald Trump the way he claims. It does not accuse the FBI or DOJ of acting out of political bias. It doesn't accuse the FBI or DOJ of acting out of malice. It doesn't allege any criminal wrongdoing by anybody that was involved in the Mueller probe, except for one low-level lawyer who pled guilty to altering an email in 2020 of no consequence, big picture, to the investigation. The report did say some aspects of how the FBI handled the investigation, like they opened the investigation on a tip from an Australian diplomat. They relied on some uncorroborated information. They ignored elements of potentially exculpatory evidence. Yeah, there were procedural errors that the Durham report found. It is not indicative of any intentional misconduct, political bias, a deep state plot, a conspiracy against Trump, a frame up, a frame job framing, or any of it. And none of that affected the validity of the outcome of the investigation. This is in the Durham report. And Trump and Bongino want you to pretend it's something different. The report repeated some debunked conspiracy theories that were pushed by Trump. For example, it wrongly claimed the Steele dossier triggered the investigation. That is not true. That dossier didn't even get to the FBI until September of 2016. That was month 3 of the investigation already. So if you actually look at the Durham report, you find that all of the stuff Trump is saying simply isn't true. Let's listen to just a little bit more of this interview. We're skipping ahead a little bit here.
I call him the special persecutor, not prosecutor. Persecutor, because persecutor is worse. But Jack Smith, and he continues to go after Trump with the phony boxes hoax. And if you take a look at Biden, Biden's got boxes all over the place. He had no right to declassify. I do. But you just take a look. Jack Smith, this is a continuation of the same hoax. It's all a big hoax. They're all friends. Yeah. They're in there. They're embedded. And it's really a question. It's rhinos and it's Democrats, radical left Democrats. I love the way you start your show with the radical left. You fight the radical left.
All right. So there has been no wrongdoing by the special prosecutor that anybody has actually been able to point to. The idea that any Republican that actually wants to look into what happened is merely a rhino or Republican in name only is an old, tired grievance from Donald Trump. And the problem is you look at the post. If you look at this on Truth Central where Trump posted it, people see this drivel and then they post, wow, great show, great show. Trump was right. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have fallen for it. And Bongino is one of the henchmen that pushes this nonsense on people. Look at the Durham report and you'll see Trump is lying. One of our sponsors today is Relief Band. Relief Band is the #1 FDA cleared anti-nausea wristband, clinically proven to effectively prevent nausea and vomiting. Relief Band is a type of therapy called transdermal neuromodulation accustimulation. And in really simple terms, it's just a band you wear on your wrist that sends a gentle pulse to the part of your nervous system that regulates nausea. And there's been growing research showing that Relief Band can help with nausea from motion sickness, from pregnancy, and from all sorts of other situations. And a number of studies suggest Relief Band can help with nausea after surgery in conjunction with medication. Many people use Relief Band for nausea from anxiety or migraines when you feel sick on a car or plane or a boat. It's simple, it's safe, it's drug-free, and there are no side effects. Relief Band has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau with over 100,000 satisfied customers online. It's just a brand you can trust. You can go and read the reviews. Let Relief Band help you make nausea a thing of the past. You'll get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to reliefband.com and use the code PACMAN at checkout. The link is in the description.